Anna to Ricardo, to Paulius, to Fernando, Dovile, Ola, then down to Lina, Elsa, Elmar, Barbora, Vitali, then down to Luis, Mattia, Maria, Cyprian, Alexia, down to Letizia, Ugne, Živile, Joanna, Henrik, and we will move to the next room. And after Henrik, Joanna, Aga, Francisco, Pavel, Monica, Victoria, at least the emoji in the end also to raise. What is very important, there is a delay because we are doing transcontinental Zoom training course. So also be aware that you have to stand up a bit earlier. So we will try one time to practice, and then we will do the final and great result all together. So for the practice, the Zoom wave will not put music on, but later on we will try also with some music. So Andres, your mission will be to find a nice positive mood song after the wave. So Marius, you have to start with the countdown from 1 to 5. I will be next, and then Andres, and we will try this time for practicing.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Neringa. Okay. Anna, Ricardo. Very good. Paulius. Super. Very good. Oh, very good. Lena. Elsa, Elmar. We need to do it a bit faster. So this delay is really happening. Vitaly. Super, guys. Doing great. Maria, Cyprian. Letizia. Oh, the transcontinental. Okay, Ugne. Živile. Joanna. Henrik. Joanna. Aga, your turn. Francisco. Christina, now you have to stand up and raise your hands because we're doing Mexican wave. Pavel. Super. Okay. Monica and Victoria, we did it. Okay, very good. So now we have to do it much faster. Andres, I hope you have found music already for us to listen to. Okay, I will also start recording. So Marius, when you are ready.
Okay, so shall everybody 1, 2, 3, go! Yay!
Yay! Neringa. Andres, you can turn on the music. Davile. Super. Who's next? Okay. Letizia, nice. Victoria, I think it's your time. Anna, we're doing Mexican wave. Okay, Pavel and Monica. Super, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm stopping to share the screen. So good, we will do something from time to time intimidating. Yesterday, Marius filmed our energizer with shaking the hands. posted on Facebook, a national agency was liking. So when we will have a visit of in the conclusion say that we were using non-formal education methods. We were doing energizers. Okay, yeah, we will get a check from the national agency on the 7th of April. So we will tell you more after Easter how it will look, who will come and what they want to do with you and us together. So I will tell you what's next on the program today. So today the program is focusing on the youth psychology. So the psychology of the customers of youth centers. So already yesterday we started with this fact sheet looking into the young person. So today the first session, it will be devoted for you to discuss, analyze and share in mixed groups. And then in the second session, we'll try to a bit more maybe formally again with the PowerPoint presentation, try to explain the sociology, the behavior and what is happening with young people from the biological, psychological and sociological side, and how these needs are met by youth centers and leisure time activities. So that will be the second session. And then the third session, we will devote time to reflect. So today we will not open a third topic after the second break, but we will give us a bit of time to digest with all the things which have happened. Today at 6 o'clock Central European time, it's an optional thing, but we want to invite you again to connect to Zoom to have this Easter celebration on non-formal time. So at some moment we will check who will be the ones joining in the evening or in the afternoon in Brazil. And then we'll find out who also wants to contribute and to do what for this non-formal session. So yeah, that's the program for today. For the program of tomorrow, we have a bit of changes. So yeah, because we have guests, we were planning to have guests tomorrow. So in the first part, we'll have study visits on youth centers and videos and discussions with directors of youth centers on the establishment of youth centers. And then in the second part, we had to have a meeting with mobile youth work providers. So we'll postpone the mobile youth work for Friday. And tomorrow we will start speaking about funding schemes and how to organize these kind of things. So the program of today and the Friday, it will be mixed in between, depending on the availability of guests. So probably we'll let you know more with the email how in the evening how it will look. Another important thing, the videos of the first 2 days from Zoom recorded are available on Padlet. We discussed that we will share it internally because there is records of group discussions and other stuff, and probably to see a 5-hour video for the outer world with name games and other stuff, it's not very, how to say, interesting. So Marius is showing the blue corner here, top left corner in the Padlet. YouTube, it's in the YouTube, and you can find the videos over there. Day 1 is 5 hours, day 2 is 3 hours. So we'll try to keep a bit more concise the videos in the upcoming days for you to repeat and to see. Questions, remarks? Francisco?
Thank you, Meridius. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I have a question. It's about this evening, this afternoon. Could we go with kids? Because I will be with them then. Could be funny. I will try.
Okay, so you can bring your kids, you can bring your cats, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends.
No hostages.
Okay. No. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Any other requests? I count to 5. If not, then I pass the screen to Mario. So 1, 2, 5. Mario's screen is yours.
No cheating whatsoever. Okay, good morning again, everybody. Thanks a lot for yesterday filling the boxes, filling the spreadsheet, because for some groups it was easier. They were bigger groups. For some, big nations, small groups. So really thank you for taking responsibility and doing it. And also, Aga, was it you who filled the Polish data this morning? If yes, thank you very much. If not, somebody was faking the Polish data.
No, it was me.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for taking responsibility. So what we would like to do with you now, to reflect a little bit together in a group. What you saw, what are your observations? Maybe something surprised you about your own national reality, or maybe about other countries. So I'm sharing the screen. You can also access still the document on your own computer. So let's open and let's see what we have here. And I open the floor for reactions, for comments, and we will also react a bit from our side. Does it make sense, the numbers?
Marius, could you reshare the screen to share only the or enter the full mode of the table to use all space in the screen? Thank you.
You can see now?
Uh-huh.
Okay. What has surprised you most?
How do you think these differences between the year required to school attendance? 10 years or 12 versus 16 years old?
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting difference.
I think also it's the question is wrongly formulated. So some people understood until which age you are required to be in school, and some answered how many school years. At least that's how I read the answers. Because in some cases you are required to be till 10th grade, in some countries till 12th grade. But yeah, I'm always shocked when I learn that, you know, in UK the kids are going to school at the age of 4 or 5. Then it's not surprising that we start having babies at the age of 14.
For me, also the difference for like the second part with when you can be elected in municipal election. I personally didn't know that, so I had to check it on Google. And for Romania, it was 23, but as far as I can see, most of the countries have actually 18. So I don't know why the difference, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point, because now in quite many European countries, we're having this debate, you know, when to allow people to be elected, this census of so-called passive right, election right, when you can be elected. In Lithuania, it was also changing, because at some point it was 25, both to municipal and to parliament, but now it's decreased to 20 and 21 actually. So, and also we continue pushing it lower, because again, it doesn't mean that if you are 18 and running an election that you will be elected. But why to take away the chance from young person? Actually, not a chance, but a right is taken away based only on age. Mm-hmm.
And even that part with Norway, that you can be elected for the parliament when you're only 17. If you are going to turn 18 that year, it's crazy. So much responsibility at that age is really something.
Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting point what you are raising, because on one thing it's opportunity, it's a right, but on another hand it's also responsibility. So, you know, what are you expected to do, what you should be capable to do. And actually we are working a lot with Norway, with Norwegian organizations, and one of the partners is Association of Youth Centers. And we had guys from that organization elected to municipal councils at the age of 18. And they didn't fuck up. They didn't. But the thing is, and what we were always telling to young active people, saying that, you know, guys, you have double responsibility. I mean, because if you will fuck up, it will take away opportunity for other young people, because others will be saying, you see, we were telling don't trust young people, and that's, they are messing up. But in Lithuania now we have, I would say, very positive dynamic. We have a lot of young mayors, and young mayors actually being between 25 and 30, and more, which is showing that actually, you know, those who were elected, they proved to be energetic, innovative, and in the recent elections now we really have, I would say, at least 5-6 mayors until the age of 35. But it took 20-30 years to get there. More reactions? Somebody was raising hand.
For me, it was interesting that age when you can marry. For example, in Georgia, we have 18. But when people marry in 16 or 17, we call them like early marriage, child marriage. So they have a lot of criticized for that as in society. So, but I see that in some countries is normal to marry in 16. So it impressed me.
Any comments on this point about, because remember yesterday Nelius was saying that one of the indicator of you becoming an adult is actually creating a family and starting to take care of others. So it's kind of positive thing, but you know, maybe not too early.
Yes, but you can get married with 16 if you have the authorization of the parents, like emancipation.
Yeah, and why those young couples marry often? It's because of mistakes in education, in reproductive health and sexual health, because of child pregnancy. So that's often also the case why parents are pushing their children to marry, because they will become grandparents and the youngsters will become parents, and that's also one of the reasons. Or it can be traditions. For example, Roma gypsy communities, so they marry very, very, very early, culturally.
But the tendency is that people are getting married later and the first child is born much later. Anything else you would like to point out?
Also regarding this marriage thing, for me it was, again, I didn't know the answer, so I had to check it. But that age for Romania, for me, it seemed to be like really, really high, because I know that we have also one of the highest numbers of early pregnancies, and also I know a lot of women that are getting married so early, even in their, I'm not sure if it's like childhood or teenagehood, but anyway, like really early. And I thought it is going to be way lower at that age. I was shocked, not necessarily regarding the other states, because I'm not sure what the situation is, but exactly at this point, it was shocking, the age. So it has to be really quite a balance in order to achieve this this age, because there are so many that are getting married so young, which means that there are so many people that are getting married so old in order to get that number. So yeah, quite interesting.
Yes, Joanna is pointing this, let's say, flaws of statistics, because statistics really mean nothing. You know, Nerius always puts up this nice example saying that, you know, what is the average age of women when they get married in Lithuania? It's around 28 years, and the first child is born usually on average 28 years and 3 months, which doesn't really make sense. But yeah, but also to some extent, these numbers, this what we see is kind of norms or kind of cultural expectations, what you think is normal. And it's also okay that some numbers are going down or going up. So for example, with bigger push for youth participation and youth empowerment, the numbers or the age when you can get engaged, when you can get involved, when you can be elected is getting lower, right? But also quite many, let's say, columns here are the ones which are trying to protect young people from themselves or protect society from young people in terms of, drinking age, when you can buy product, go to prison and so on. So again, sometimes we're afraid of young people. So we try to put the limits on that. And if you would see with the drinking age, in Lithuania, we went quite extreme several years ago with the previous government. It's only legal now from 21-year-old to purchase and drink alcohol, any alcohol. And you can see that in some countries, light alcohol can be bought and consumed from 16, the hard liquor from 18. In Lithuania, it's everything 21. But also it was kind of, sometimes we see it as a kind of try to punish young people without even looking in the situation. Are they really drinking so much? And Neris will be telling later about the tendencies. It's not the young people who are causing most of the problems. Yeah. Another interesting aspect is with driving. I don't know if you had a closer look at this. There's also a difference that when you can drive different means of transport, right? Bikes, scooters, cars, tractors, very interesting. In most of the countries, you can start driving from 18, but in heavily, let's say in US, for example, the country which really depends a lot on, driving cars, you can start driving much earlier. But also in some countries in Europe, which are traditionally agricultural countries, you can drive tractor legally from 12 years. Or as Neris was pointing to me, in Lithuania, you can even do it to 8-year-old if you're not driving a tractor on the road, but in the field.
Yeah, in the field, you can work from 8 years and there is no legal consequences. With a smaller tractor. There was a question, comment.
Can I say one thing? I was very, very shocked because I realized that there is no laws in my country about buying an energy drink for kids. Like a 3-year-old kid, if you give them money and go to a bar and the mother is like 10 meters distant, can buy an energy drink and eventually drink it. Like there is no regulation. I'm shocked because I didn't know it. I totally didn't know it. I thought there was like, I don't know, something like under 11 or whatever, but there isn't. I mean, somebody wrote a kind of like a project for law, but it's still not approved. Like we have bigger problems. We didn't think about this.
Well, the energy drink is quite a new thing, new phenomenon, maybe 10, 15 years. And in some countries where we see that really young people, use too much of energy drinks or access is too easy, then we had to react, let's say in Lithuania and Latvia. But also, the same applies to Coca-Cola and so on. So we are also discussing now the sugar taxes in Lithuania and so on. So things are changing, things are fluid. But again, some things are taken for granted, but the new things come and...
Yeah, but for example, yesterday I've just arrived on a page that there was an article about this dependence, this addiction from 13 years old, 12 years old in Italy. And there was this study that like a very big number of kids abuse of this. So it's crazy. It's something that I totally didn't know.
Yeah, Dovile?
Yeah, for me, it's shocking, this alcohol. I don't know, it's 21. I mean, 21, you already almost finished your studies. I mean, you're starting to work, and that's the time when you're gonna first time in your life to try alcohol. What the hell? I mean, really?
Also,
then
you
they
are
are
already a
making
policeman.
young people to be criminals, to hide somewhere, you know, and get drunk. So what's the point of this? I don't know. To make it more and more to cheat somewhere. It seems like they're teaching young people to cheat, how to hide and do things that is illegal. It's the same with the drugs. This law that, you know, you go to a jail even if you have one pot, like, oh, it's the same. So this thing is just crazy, I think so.
It's also a very good point. The Ville is bringing that the stupid rules show that, I mean, they are stupid, and then maybe you don't follow also other rules. So it really has to be linked. Because if you imagine all of you who graduated from university, if you had to do it sober, I'm not sure if you would graduate.
No, but even
or get married, go to military service, and maybe even to war. I mean, yeah.
I'm just trying to imagine how it would look, you know, graduating university and then first time trying alcohol. I mean, you would get crazy. Probably everybody would get really drunk at this time. Yeah, but I don't think that you have to put it in a 14, but still not 21, somewhere in the middle. So.
Thank you, guys. You see, in many cases, we have these numbers of like 16, 18. Do you think something very specific happens with young person when they turn 16 or 18?
Maybe it's biological something.
But you're not sure, Elmar, you know?
Not sure, yes.
Okay.
But 18 is the majority age. So it's when people become officially adults, at least in Portugal.
Officially, but do they really become?
Yeah. It says the studies show that the teenage years, the youngster years go further and further because people still live in their parents' house, and because of social conditions, they stay kids for a longer time. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're still kids, but officially adults.
Any other ideas? Yeah, because I mean, we're just guessing because there is no proof that something actually happens.
If to look at biology and the chemical processes which are happening in the human body, the most important thing which is happening is the reproduction. So that means that you become an adult because you can have children. So at what age do girls have their first period these days in Europe?
It's early. I think it's 12 or 13. It's
10, 11. And it is becoming earlier and earlier. If you live in south, in warm countries, it can be 6, it can be 7. So the body is already ready to be reproducing. For boys, it's later. So for boys, it's 1-2 years more. So for girls, it's 11. For boys, it can be 12, 13. But basically, they can be parents already at that age. If you look at the development of the brain, main brain development things are happening at the age of 14, 15. So the brain is already with 16 quite developed. Experience is missing. Adults have more experience, which they gain with years. So age of 18 doesn't have any biological reasoning behind that. And what we were talking with Marius, you know, this in the discussion on politics with vote 16, very often adults are using arguments that young people are not smart enough, it's too much responsibility, the brain is not yet developed. So there are a lot of arguments And the funny thing that all those arguments, they were used against slaves, against farmers, and against women to provide them equal rights as to the others. So it's really no academical research-based argument. It's just arguments which people are thinking of. You are not smart enough. So, and then there is no reasoning behind that.
Now it's a little bit hard to realize that this fact when you are 24 years old.
Too late now.
Yes.
Imagine you lost and missed 6 years of your
Why are you telling me now?
Mm-hmm.
Another very important thing, you know, my theory about protecting the state from the young people. So two very interesting arguments for this protective policy. So probably a lot of you have heard the term of social engineering, you know, having certain priorities, regulations to design things in a particular way, how they are. So if we look about this age of being mature, going to school till 90, studying university. So basically our society, what is doing is trying to keep us as long away from the labor market as possible, because we don't have so many job places as there are people. So education, school is seen in a very positive way. So that's why we really try to keep young people in school as much as possible. If you would look at school curriculum, you could go through all the curriculum through in 6 or 7 years, and the rest is repetition of the same things in the school. So in times of industrial revolution, my grandparents, they had 4 classes of school, and they managed to live a successful life, have jobs, change careers, and so on, etc. They were able to read, write, count, had knowledge in farming. 4 years of school was enough. Now it's 12 years of school, 3 years of bachelor's, 2 years of master's, 4 years of PhD, and then you enter the labor market. So that's one thing. Another very important thing, what the statistics is showing, what is the age to become a millionaire?
Poor.
8 years old.
8 years old. No, up to 30. If you don't manage to do it up to the age of 30, you will not do it. If you look at the story, so that's the most energetic age. And also with revolutions, students are starting revolutions. If you look in the history of the last 100 years, the biggest revolutions, they were started by students. So 18, 22, 24, the age full of energy when you want to change things. After 30, you know, you are much more agreeing with the things which are happening. So I would say that's also one of the reasons why there are so many regulations in this age, which are applying. Reactions, comments?
Searching on internet, because for the age of 18 to 20, we were saying that this is not a biological moment, but if I remember well, we used to say that we have to take drugs around 18, 20 because of the growth of the body. So I was searching now, I don't know, not like really specific or really like detailed, but usually the age of the stop, like the moment when we stop to grow, is around 18, 20, 21 sometimes. So maybe some of these laws has to be related with that, I don't know.
It also depends on the lobbying. You probably, everyone knows the history of US when there was this dry law that you couldn't drink alcohol. Smoking marijuana was legal, okay, but then alcohol lobbyists were pushing to do it the other way around, making alcohol legal, drugs illegal. Sugar is addictive and it's also not healthy, but this is a legal drug. Coffee is addictive. A lot of us use it and there are no regulations. So certain things are legal, other things are illegal. And that's the question of who was lobbying, how were lobbying, and what kind of arguments did they find and did they use for these kind of things. Also, if you look at traditions, there are quite weird explanations. you have seen a lot of movies. Some of you are married and you have seen that the dad is walking the girl and passing to the future husband in the church. Do you know where this tradition is coming from? Very nice tradition. Dad is giving away his daughter. What could be the reason for that?
From ancient time when they were selling the woman.
Yes, they were dragging, the dad was dragging the daughter to altar to force her to marry because he was giving her away literally for that. And then we have this this tradition. So sometimes we take things for granted, not knowing how and when these things were developing and what is behind behind that nice tradition. For example, if you look at traditional food, very often it comes from being very poor and not having money. So people are eating very weird, we're eating very weird stuff. And now we are calling it traditional food in many countries, like blood sausage, ears, tails, eyes of animals, and so on, etc. But that comes from quite a poor history. Shut up.
But I think we could move on to the next step, because we analyzed a bit the stages, the dates, and to actually understand that it's a little bit irrelevant, this 16, 18, or 21, and still very often when you hear in the public debate or in the policy debate, you say young people, it kind of refers to a unanimous group, a homogeneous group, yeah, which is not. They're very, very different. Yeah, 16, 18, 20, 25. As we already discussed yesterday, youth policy regulates a field between 14, 29, more or less. In some countries, it's a bit higher or lower age, but this group is very different. And still we relate to them as, they, young people. So we would like to give you a chance to analyze a bit the young people of nowadays, what they are, what is important for them, what is interesting to them, what is the societal pressure to them, so what they're expected to do and to do well. We will send you to 7 groups, and each group will get a link to Google Jamboard. I don't know if you can see already, I hope you can, the shared screen. And we will do a bit of mapping in each group. With the same questions, you will be asked to discuss and share a little bit how you see what's the situation in your country, what challenges young people face, what are expectations of society towards young people. Is it causing no problem? Is it earning money? Is it being in the military or something else? So marrying and being successful. What young people want in terms of what they want to become or what they want to have. It can also, or what they want to achieve. And also what kind of support they need. Because this analysis will also help to kind of map out how Youth Center could address these different needs of young people and how we can provide support which they need. And also in these groups, you can either discuss and write down with sticky notes or with, you can also drag some pictures if you want. It's kind of collage technique, but you can also map and put notes in the separate pages of each question which we have. Is it clear? We will have around 40 minutes in the smaller groups because we want to have small groups but quite deep discussions. And we kindly ask you to put the sticky notes, the outcomes or the most important things on this first page, so that later on we can also make a print screens and share and also discuss in a larger group. Is it clear? If yes, then I will put you now into breakout rooms. Andres, maybe we do 6 groups or 7?
We can do 6. It's fewer of us today, so
yeah,
6 enough.
I think so. Yep. Mm-hmm. In which group am I now?
We are in the window all together with people who didn't join.
So still, you do 1 to 3. I do.
Yes.
I will join the 6th group, okay?
Okay, and then I'll just drop the link. Mm-hmm.
Hi.
One question.
Yes.
How to go to the coffee room in the break? I don't know.
Andres will organize the room.
Oh, we will organize.
We will organize, yeah. If Andres will not organize, so you'll have a chance to talk with others. Yesterday, we had some nice project conversations about how to use funds of Erasmus Plus for testing if you are now organizing the events. So also some quite practical conversations we had.
Yeah, but Francisco, from the technical side, it's the same like we had reflection. No, not reflection, but when we yesterday picked the breaking rooms. I think it's the same.
Naturally. Yeah, Francisco was not in the second part of the day yesterday.
Nerijau, tu pamodėliau, aš sudėliosiu kambarius, gerai?
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, soon we will go to the break. And we want to find out short news from each of the groups, how it was. So to really just how the process was of cooperating and discussing. And we will go through the list of rooms. So one person is just commenting and we go further on. And then after the break, we will have a longer round of presentations. Neringa, I see your hand is raised. You were in the room number 1. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the floor. I just want to share so positive feedback from our group. It was great discussion and deep and meaningful, and we came up with some nice conclusions and some issues about the youth field, the youth work, and how we are powerful and powerless at the same time. And generally, the main conclusion of our room is that being human is enough, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So it will be really interesting to see after the break a bit of presentation from your discussion, the main key points. So Neringa, thank you very much. And in the room number 2, there was Alexia, Anna, Francisco, Ola, and Jvile. So who would be the one telling few words?
Francisco talks really well, so I bet on him.
Okay. Anna, delegate.
Okay, first volunteer. Yeah, it was really nice. I couldn't expect that everything were so fast and everybody has really good ideas, and we put everything in common, even some of them that is not written. Then we had to choose, but for sure it was really power moment.
Okay, nice to hear. Thank you. Let's go to room number 3. Aga, Elsa, Kiko, Paulus, Sanita, and Victoria. How it was in your group?
We had a very productive work. We worked individually, and then we had time to discuss and find some common topics for each of the section. And it was very kind of hard work, I felt. So I liked it. Thank you.
Super, super. Thank you, Sanita. So group number 4, Anna, Angel, Dovile, Henrique, Luis, and Maria from Portugal. Short comment from you.
It was very nice. I felt it. That was a very good job. It was very interesting. I felt very nice atmosphere, and all of us really connected.
Nice to hear. Super. Somehow I have the feeling that people were missing these connections. So that was a good time also to start from a discussion. Okay, group number 5, Barbora, Ioana, Lina, Pavel. Marius, did you now recreate rooms?
No, but I opened new ones, but also it's Vitaly and Ioana, both Ioanas in the same group.
Okay, so I
but
see that something is...
Yeah, we just got the request to join the breakout.
Don't join.
Don't join yet.
Okay, good. Okay, now it disappeared. Good.
I closed it, and now let's wait. 9 people will come back because 9 people managed to join.
Oops.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so Ioana, you can start telling people are coming back.
Okay, perfect. Our group was pretty productive. We also worked mainly individually, but at the end we had some really nice discussions also about stereotypes, because some of us were not really sure what to put in some parts. I'm not sure if my colleague Lina is here. She can maybe say something more about it. I think it's really interesting to discuss also about what we think the society wants from the youth, and also what we think that the youth wants, and not exactly what are the statistics, at least. So Lina maybe can share something.
Yeah, yes, I need to admit to all the group, as I said, and apologize, but I'm an old lady and I can't understand the needs of young. But luckily, we had some young people in our group, and they approved that all the post-its are true. And we finished our breakout room group very productive, I think.
Super. Okay, and then the last group with Andres, Joella, Cristina, Maria, Ricardo, Ugnia, and Mattia. So probably your work was a disaster. So who would comment?
Well, I'd say we kind of did the best we could. Okay. No, everything went fine. I mean, everyone changed the insights and the ideas, and we actually can't wait to discuss everything with all together. So, yeah.
So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will give you half an hour of break. So we'll be meeting 12:05. So also we will soon open the breakout rooms for the ones who want to be in the silent room, for the ones who want to discuss. So see you in half an hour with presentation. So we'll start with the same order, group number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So be ready to share the screen and present the results of your work. Enjoy your break. Yeah, I opened the rooms, so you can enter.
Do they need? Well, at first they need to be heard, to see how the other people are giving them importance. Also, we were speaking about grants to study or financial support to make what they want, because sometimes the family has they are not rich, or sometimes it's difficult to find this kind of, well, this money. Emotional support, yeah, to be understood. And what else? Yeah, and also answers, because this period in life is, I think, the most important moment to have the decisions. Then sometimes they don't have the answers. We are the people, or adults are the people who can give them the answer, but not close answer like you have to do this, inviting them to think by themselves to get independent. And last but not least, what are expectations of society to work out? Well, be motivated. We were speaking like, no, if you are young, you have to have motivation, you have to do everything, and sometimes can make them feel depressed or something like this. Can have driver's license. Sometimes just because you are 18, you have to have it, and it's not so important having it or not having it. Doing things the way parents, older and wise. Yeah, sometimes they are adults for some things, but for other things they can't take their own decisions. We have to trust them and can do be responsible. Yeah, have no mental problems, and yeah. They were speaking in the last presentation about suicide. It's an important problem. We didn't write it, but it's also something that we have as well to pay attention.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, group number 2. It's interesting point you brought, that actually during pandemics, everything what was fun about being young is kind of illegal. You cannot go out, you cannot meet, and in some cases you really have this even stronger generational conflict, because very often in our media we hear, these 6 youngsters were meeting here and there, so kind of they are shown as irresponsible, even though they're not. And even with vaccination, young people will be the last ones to actually vaccinate it, even though they are the ones who are meeting most and moving most. So it's quite tricky, but also it changes a bit, like with the car and driving. Those who live in urban areas, the car driving is not a thing anymore. It's not cool anymore. It's not needed anymore. But still, in some countries, in some contexts, it's still seen as a step of maturity. Yeah, so these things are quite fluid. And the problem is that what society wants from young people, it's so different. It really conflicts between, you want to be actually silent, not obeying the rules, not creating stuff, but on the other hand, you have to solve the problems of society and move forward. Okay, let's go to the group number 3.
I would add about the car that with millennials, it's an interesting thing. Before the pandemics, driving a car was not a thing, but now millennials, after the first wave, rushed to get a driving license because they understood that it's much safer also, and you cannot move, and they don't trust public transport. They don't want to share Uber. So also the context really can change very fast.
Okay, group number 3. Speak up.
I am from group number 3, and we agreed each member would say the part that we are working on, but I see everyone else with the cameras off and the mics off.
Yeah.
Is everyone?
Well, guys, just shortly, okay?
We are here.
And Elsa, we start with you.
Okay, so I think it's very similar to what you were talking. You can see the 2 main topics about the challenges were socio-cultural pressure and lack of support and motivation. I also added here, I really like this quote that I saw some days ago, that we ask 18-year-olds to make huge decisions about their career and financial future when a month ago they had to ask to go to the bathroom. So I think this is a good description of the challenges they face, like be a grown-up, but you also have to obey the rules. So yeah, and I think it's mostly what you have been discussing and about what they want. I think we agree that they want freedom, they want to look like they're already adults, do the cool stuff of adults, they want fun, adventure. So they want like both sides, the responsibility part, like the grown-up part without the responsibility, the crazy stuff, the independence, and then about the expectations of society, that they are expected to be responsible, to follow the rules, fix their mistakes, perform, show results of success, be productive, but not experiment in order to not commit a mistake or have a failure. So it's a really tough position, and I guess the support we agreed that is mostly emotional and psychological support they need, that they need to feel that people are there for them and they will back them up if something goes wrong, and they do have the right to explore and make mistakes. I don't know if someone else from my group wants to add something.
Yeah, well, we have a question for your group. So what age in life is the easiest period in life?
What is the age in life?
At what age it's the easiest to live? You know, is it 5 years, 15, 25, 75?
Is there an easy?
Yeah, I think there's none.
I agree, there is none.
Well, during puberty, you feel the most careless about anything, and you have your parents' support. So maybe during puberty.
Well, some people were writing that it's best to be a student because, you know, you're drinking and having fun and your parents are proud about you. So yeah, I think maybe being a student, but yeah.
It was a trap.
All the different periods of life have their own challenges, and sometimes we have to disappoint youngsters that it will not be easy when they grow up. All right, let's move to the group number 4. I will soon.
We actually, we actually wanted to present the other 3 points, but if there's no time, it's okay.
Yeah, there is one, but 1.5 minutes, okay?
Oh, okay. So I will present shortly the expectations of society towards the youth. So we all agreed that expectations such as for them to be responsible at such a young age, to take accountability for their mistakes, and at the same time to be perfect and make no mistakes. And that's kind of a paradox about the expectation regarding them. And we all stated that mistakes and the expectations that they should be perfect and know how to fix their mistakes is too much to ask from them. And we discussed a very interesting thing, that also they are encouraged at a very young age to read and learn and hustle. But when the time for the evaluation comes, they're a bit repressed, we think, and they're told that they can't express their quote unquote genius. And that's a very interesting part of being young. So yeah, maybe another one from the group can add something for about like 30 seconds or so about the support of young people, or no?
Anyone? No. So yeah, it's an interesting paradox. Either you are dumb or you are smart ass. So kind of,
yeah, exactly.
So no middle ground. Okay, then let's move to the group number 4, because the things do repeat themselves a little bit. This group is not structured whatsoever, or in a creative and a colorful way.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to stress out. It's even more structured. But
Please,
yeah.
Go on.
I want to say, just from chaos it comes order, so everything is fine.
I think this kind of show what being a teenager is. It's no structure at all, but we try to fit in. So I think much has already been said, but I think we can add some more ideas about our group work. So I think we can resume it by about the pressure of young. So all the society need try to see the youngsters as the saviors of the world. They put a lot of pressure on them. So they trying to fix the mistakes of society. And we saw this with the climate strikes, for instance, but at the same time, so the society wants people to save the world and to be more sustainable, etc. But at the same time, society wants young people to have their feet on the ground, to be responsible, to have a serious job, not dreaming about saving animals in the jungle, etc. To be successful in their careers, and also keep their family and national traditions, which sometimes is not suitable with being sustainable and saving the world. So, which means that there are many conflicts during this growth. And even the education policies and the age of the teachers are not adjusted to the needs of the personal and the academic development. So I think we can condensate our thoughts in these discussions. And also the people want to break rules because there are so many rules, so they too can fit in society, and because of the society pressure and peer pressure, they want to break rules just to show up. So I think it's what support do they need? Well, they have to feel more representative into legal institutions, for instance, when we're talking about having age enough to be at politics, but at the same time, we think they need more legal representatives. I don't know if one of my colleagues has to add something else. No.
Well, we talked about exception as well, like to be accepted the way you are, and because it's so hard for them to be accepted. I mean, the old like teachers, they can't accept it because they don't understand it with the digital world. They lived in a completely different, and for them it's such a big change, and they can't understand, and they judging. It's not accepting, but judging and saying that you're something wrong with you. I know young people were used to live differently. And so, and a lot of things about sexuality, for example, it's hard. It's super hard. Homosexuals, that's a big problem. That's a huge problem about discrimination.
Okay, I would like just correct one point. Now we're saying that things are changing so fast and our grandmothers cannot understand the space of changes. Actually, in the lifespan of our grandmothers, the life has really changed. People started to travel, they invented electricity, invented cars, human being landed on the moon and so on. Now it's much kind of smaller, but of course, very intensive changes happening, and it affects every step we take. But actually, you know, things were also changing 70 years ago, 50 years ago. So we have to respect our grandmothers. Okay, let's move to the group number 5. Quickly, main points, something you would like to stress out from your perspective. Anyone?
As you see, our group was very diverse. As you can see from the colors of post-its and just combined with just writing and so on. I have mentioned that I wasn't sure about the questions because they seem to me very general, too abstract, and
Lina, you are not answering the questions, you are questioning the questions.
Yeah, altogether we did the job, and put post-its with our ideas. I don't know, I would like that young people from our group would speak about, yeah, as Joanna said, as I remember, but it's all true. So could she just...
Okay.
You want me to read the answers?
No, we don't want anyone to read answers, just main points what you were discussing. If there's something what you would like to highlight. And also, guys, in this group, it's not possible to hide behind young people, what Lina is trying to do. You know, young people should speak for themselves, and here we don't have too many young people because we have people who want to open youth centers for young people. So no hiding behind young people. But Joanna, what would you like, you know, 2 things you would like to highlight from your discussions?
We talked mainly at the challenging point. We talked about this pandemic time, about the mobility restrictions, the school restrictions, the loss of physical contact, and so on. So we focus mainly on the issues and challenges that youth are facing right now. Okay. Regarding expectations, there are 2 sides. One where people are expecting, like society, but expecting in terms of hoping that the younger generation will not disturb the rest of the world, will obey, will also respect the older generation, but at the same time, they are going to be the saviors, the change makers, the more responsible generations, and so on. So this is kind of the conflict of also what the society is expecting from the youngsters. But what do they actually want? They want and need also trust and encouragement and flexibility and friends and quality leisure time and so on. And also do not be underestimated. I liked especially this one. Yeah, like a decent life, I would say, but also with the highlights of this period of time when you have so much energy and you want to share it with the rest of the world, of course. And you know that in a few years you're not going to be so energetic anymore, so you're doing everything while you're young. And what support do they need? Again, trust. As they want trust, they need trust, both of them. Funding for some opportunities, what the other groups also said, with scholarships for studies and so on. They need safe spaces where they can explore themselves and also what the society means and everything. And also what we discussed, I'm not sure if this topic was really reached before, but like, for example, the sexual education. It also needs to be a safe space in order to develop this knowledge and so on. And also motivation, understanding, outdoor activities, both for what they want and what they need, and understanding mainly. Counseling would be nice to have. And yeah, I think that's mainly it.
Thank you, Anna. They need respect. You mean you talk a lot about trust, but actually usually say they want respect. They want to be seen and heard and understood. Okay, really nice to see that, you know, it's 6 different ways to answer. Just really from this group number 6, what would you like to highlight?
I think that most of the other groups have highlighted more or less all the things that we say. Let's add what it's missing. For countries with a lot of asylum seekers, the integration, socialization between youngsters, because most of the asylum seekers are mostly from the age of 17 to 25, so are in the age of young. And then we have the revival of hard drugs. Yes, somebody, I think the first group said about drugs. And yeah, we talk about the lack of physicality and sensoriality, and the world that is mostly digital and online, and that this thing had been totalizing during the pandemic, and to be always, you know, keeping up with the technology. So this is what they challenge, because since everything is online, they have to have the best technology to be educated, to get with the other friends. And from here, from what young people want, I think that one thing was missing is traveling to discover the work and work and study abroad, being digital nomad. I don't know if other groups say this. I think I didn't hear this. And to show their personality through appearance. So this is part of being accepted as a person and not being judged, but not only as a person, but also like the appearance. For example, their looks. And this is exactly about how it's happening, the challenge of being accepted, for example, in the street, for like people that don't know them, and their looks. And what else? The expectation, yes, we spoke about a lot about this classical path, having a university degree, finding a good job, and how is having an employee job in big corps or follow the family path is better than being an entrepreneur or a freelance. And we kind of discussed of what is different in our country, like where is more stress, the importance of being a young entrepreneur, and where is totally not helped, no supported by the government. And of course, obedience. And here we have what support they need, more or less, well, independence, empowerment. We spoke about the support of family in the family choices, because the support of family, for example, in southern countries like Italy, we have a lot of support from families, but it's mostly toxic. It's not the support that is giving independence and empowerment, but it's kind of closing the life choices. Yeah, restricting them. So like to have a good support and meaningful support. And yeah, another thing that I think it was missing in this is that they want that the study that they do, it's valuable in the job market and in society, because most of the degrees and masters we're having, they don't have any more value in the job market. So like you're studying for 4 years, 6 years, and then you're just hand up to, I don't know, washing dishes in a McDonald's, and they don't have a value for the people. You study mostly for yourself. And another thing that was missing, I think that everybody say that they need information about the open doors, the possibilities, and we just explicited this as an Erasmus Plus program, Aerodesk, and other experiences for their personal development. That's more or less.
Thanks a lot. So it's clear that Joella was reflecting to a little bit older young people who want to travel and so on, and who related to studies. But it's true, at least in Lithuania, no, people say you have to go to university. It's not that you want, but it's kind of have to. But you know, but why? Does it really help you to get anywhere and so on? So we don't question certain things. We're pushed on certain things. And then, yeah, you have to, you know, as a young person, you have to find out and find all solutions, and preferably not to get into troubles. Neri.
And lastly, I say that
yeah.
as we were two Italians, sometimes I have to say that, sorry, we kind of monopolized the Italian situation, and I should personally be like more thinking about the other countries, because we have so different situations in Europe, and I have to learn about everything, and I'm happy to learn about everything and not complain always about my country.
Thank you.
Another thing which I want to draw your attention, we are talking about 15% of the richest people on the planet. So those psychological needs, discussions, our reflections, we always have to remember that we are very privileged. So this is important to understand that, you know, very often children in Latin America, young people in Asia, in a lot of African countries, they do not have these opportunities which we take for granted. The challenges are a bit different, how to get food on your table or how to get drinking water. So we always have to remember that, but that was amazing presentation which you did. Myself, I should be next. I will be shortening my presentation on youth age psychology because majority stuff you have covered and you talked with tendencies, this classical path for going through education, creating a family, doing, implementing a job. A lot of things you really reflected well, the same things which you can read in sociological articles about young people. One more thing I want to challenge before my presentation is traveling and mobility. So if people are sharing in the chat that no, migration was a very natural thing historically. Yes, it was, to get food, to escape war, and to do other things. But this another thing which you have to understand that it's also for a certain group of people. What the tourism industry is saying that if you would look at the grandparents, a lot of them haven't traveled more than 50 kilometers from their birthplace. Majority of them, their world is 50 kilometer bubble of 50 kilometers around. Now, you know, you can, I don't know, work in Malaysia, Bali, whatever, and be successful and do it, but that's very recent development. Myself, I'm doing international youth work for the last 17 years, and flying from Lithuania 17 years ago was 500 euros, 400 euros. At that time, the money was 3 times more expensive. So it's really a very recent development, and we are very used to this tradition. Often people previously were escaping poor conditions, for example, you know, traveling to US and living for the last 200 years. But generally, that's quite a new thing which we got very used to. Okay,
Can I add something to this?
Definitely.
I think that I totally agree with what you said also regarding the migration and everything. I just had the experience of the people of the older generation that I talked to so far, and I agree that there are these two parts. So for example, in my family, my mother line has been in this specific city where I'm located also right now for the last maybe 7 generations at least. On the same time, my father line is part of it from Canada, part of it from Russia, part of it from Ukraine, part of it from another completely different country. So, and they migrated so much during the last at least 200 years that what I managed to search so far. And I think that also, like nowadays, there are some people that are always striving for different conditions, life conditions, maybe that time of mining gold in America and stuff like that. Not everyone wanted to leave, of course, but it's just like now. Some people are okay with working at local shops, so for example, but some of us prefer to, I don't know, work in Germany to earn more and then come back or something. So I think that the migration topic has been kind of on 2 different stories also in their generations, not only nowadays, with some people that travel a lot and some people that do not travel at all. That's my point.
Marius, if I'm not mistaken, your grandmother was doing work and travel in US when she was young. Marius. Marius is on the phone. Yeah, so it's also in, I think in other families also you have these stories when people left, worked for several years and came back, and they were doing it before World War II. So that's perfectly okay and fine. Look, so very short recap just to add the things which you haven't told before. So youth age psychology. In some Germanic languages, you can find the term adolescence. So the young people's psychology, often it's also referred to adolescence. What is the other word to define young people used in English language?
If we are referring to, so it's teenagers, and after teenagers is emergent adults. So it's like until it's from starting with 18 until 30, up to 30, maybe sometimes 35. That's the psychological differences.
Where did the word teenager come from?
From teen.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So this is the psychology which is typical for that age. And what I was telling already today, so there is this tendency that biologically, physically, we are maturing much faster. So really the way how young people look these days, they look much older. It also depends on the food which you eat, on the chemicals which we use. Even now in legal terms, there is this, how to say, I'll try to find the words. It's legal term that obviously you didn't know that the other person was a teenager. So for example, if a 20-year-old guy would have sexual relationships with a 15-year-old girl, it could be, how to say, easing case if she looks very mature, much more mature than she is, and he couldn't understand her age. Also, the vice versa. You know, if this guy would be, a boy would be 15 and a girl would be 20, and she could be accused of the same things, it could work like that. Or for example, you are 15, you look like 20, you have a beard, and you go to buy alcohol. Myself, I was wearing a beard at the age of 13. In my school, Nerius was with a beard, music teacher with a beard, and the director was with a beard. So it really depends on the way how you look. And then mental adulthood, it comes much later. So for example, when we look at our grandparents, for them to become an adult, it was much younger. So for example, a colleague of us from Norway, Paul, is telling about his grandfather. At the age of 12, he got a hat and he left to the sea. So at the age of 12, he became an adult because he started to work on a boat, on a fishing boat. So the rituals of becoming an adult were much earlier. Now you are becoming an adult when you are able to take care of yourself. At what age young people these days are able to pay their own bills? Elsa is shocked.
Depends where you live, in what kind of society.
Yes, in Italy, for a young man, 45, living with the mother under one roof, it's okay. Joella is crying. Okay, jokes aside, the souther you go, the later the emancipation age is. The up north you go, the sooner it is. Why? Because it's also linked to family connections. In Finland, if you are 19 and still living with your parents, all the neighbors think that the child has some psychological mental issues. So parents are kicking out their children. They're paying for their rent, that they would start living separately. In Lithuania, 26, according to the Department of Statistics, when young people start paying their own bills. So up to the age of 26, you are supported by your family financially. After the last economical crisis, which hit Spain especially difficult, there was even a joke that when the present day young people will be financially independent, when their children will leave their house. So it was so difficult that probably they will be 50 years old. Life is much faster, requirements are much bigger. To have a career, you have to have a master's degree. To get a master's, you have to be 25 to get a good job. So you much later start paying your own bills. So the requirements are different. And if you look, when the young people as a social group appeared, we have to come back yesterday. It was during the Industrial Revolution. So young people as a social group, it's only 170 years old. Before that, they were children, and then they were adults. And that's it. And in our society, climbing the classical path, you become an adult when you create your own family and you have your own children. So Erik Erikson has personality development stages. So for us, industry and inferiority, identity, role confusion, intimacy, those three stages are very important, which in the youth age, young people are experiencing. So initiative and guilt is the ability to do things on your own, learn to do things. That starts happening when you enter school until your teenage years. You are developing to solve problems, use the tools which adult people are using in everyday life. Role confusion, you're confused who you are. Are you a son, daughter, brother, sister, friend, pupil? And all those roles are, how to say, in a conflict. So you do not understand who you are and why you are. And then intimacy. In the 60s, people were starting to become intimate in their early 20s. Now, a statistical European has his first sexual experience around 16. There are cases younger, 12, 13, 14, but the statistical one should be 16, somewhere around. So yeah, if you manage to create intimate relationships, you experience love. If not, then you feel isolated. So looking at identity, you talked about a lot of these things and impact. For me, the very important thing to mention is the biological changes. Psychologists very often do not talk about the chemical processes happening in the body, but criminologists are talking a lot. Myself, I was teaching in Lithuanian police school to police officers who are working with minor criminals, juvenile criminals. So in the literature of criminology, they really look deep into what is happening with the body. So several hormones have a big impact at the age of 13, 14, 15. What are those hormones?
Maybe testosterone and estrogen.
And adrenaline.
Yeah.
They have a big impact. So those hormones are important for the change of the body. So hair starts to grow in different places, body shapes is changing, voice is changing for boys and girls. And also a very important thing, what is the difference, physical difference between children and youngsters and adults? Children's sweat doesn't smell. Adults, people stink if they are sweaty. So teenagers start to stink. So I'm always laughing that this is the smell of youth work. If you come to a youth center and the policy is without shoes, my goodness, you should wear a mask even before the corona pandemics, because it's not possible to do. They start smelling. So the body is changing. The body is very strong. That's the strongest age. And then the young people, they will say that they can move mountains. Yes, they do, because they are full of energy, because of adrenaline. But adrenaline has a side effect. What is the side effect? We often say that the young people are looking at life through glasses, goggles. Of what color? Pink. Pink. They are very idealistic.
Unicorn colors.
Yes, could be unicorn colors. This is the age of Don Quixote. So the person who was fighting windmills, high life standards, values, ideas. If you ask a teenager who you want to be in the future, he will probably say, I want to be Mother Teresa and save the world. If you ask them about love, they would say, you know, it's like Romeo or Juliet. You can do whatever, you can die for your love. If you ask about stealing, they would say, I'm Robin Hood. I'm stealing from the rich and taking to the poor. So it's very idealistic perception how they see life. And then very often they misbehave because, you know, hormones are affecting the brain. And even the police now has theories that, you know, you shouldn't be punishing young people till the age of 23. In some cases, 20, 23. Why? Because they still are not fully developed as an adult because of the impact of hormone, and they don't have yet the experience. So sometimes young age should be how to say, diminishing factor in legal punishment. Because psychology plays a very important role. So the criminologists, they are having this theory of drift, that young people are drifting between what is allowed and what is not allowed. So you come back home, your dad has a beer can in the fridge, you take it and drink it. Will the dad see or not? You smoked, you come home, will the mother smell or not? You take some money from mother's purse, will the mother catch you or not? So you are really checking the limits everywhere. In the school, I will not do my homework, will the teacher catch me? With friends, with other stuff. So we're really looking what is legal, what is illegal. And it doesn't matter on your financial situation or other stuff, you are just checking the system. Young people, they perform very well in systems. Why? Because then they can break it. If the system for them is clear, they know how to overcome. So for example, in school, if you have your homework checked, so your teacher checked your homework, you know that next day you will not be invited because she's inviting another person. Or so you find out the dynamics in school and you do things. Or Marius today in the morning was joking. Children are asking when the distant learning will be over and we will come back to classrooms, how to mute the voice of the teacher. Because they know how to do it. They are in Zoom, they put a picture, they can lie that my camera is not working, I have a bad connection and whatsoever. So they're really good in checking the limits. Whatever they do for seeking the freedom. So money, doing stuff in the night, responsibility, to have their own space, it's seeking for freedom because they know that money can buy you things. Money means freedom. They want to grow up. They want to do the same things which their parents are doing, you know, drink alcohol, smoke, party, and so on, which they are not allowed as children. And they try to understand who they are. They are searching for identity. Friends are very important. My mother was saying, Nereus, if your friends would jump out of the window, would you jump? I definitely would if I would be age of 15 to 20, because friends are very important at that age, even more important than parents. Do you know at what age your parents are becoming again very smart? Because at the age of 13, when you are 13, at the age of 13, your parents become stupid. And then at a certain time, your parents again are very smart and you go for advice.
Maybe 30 to 35, especially when you're getting pregnant and you have no idea how to deal with it.
When you have your own children. When my son is ill, I'm calling my mother for advice because she was there for. So also then you don't have so many friends. A lot of friends disappear, 90% of friends, and then somehow family comes back into your life. And that's a very normal social aspect which is happening. Okay, I will jump to the next slide. So Generation Z, some of you are in the generation, others you are working with this generation. So what is very important for the Generation Z? So the definition of new cool. So the things which were cool when I was a teenager 18 years ago, you were wearing glasses, a leather jacket, drinking alcohol and smoking. Car, that was cool. Now you are cool if you are traveling, having a dog, jogging and drinking water. And traveling and having dog is not possible. Why? Because the dog hotel costs very expensive. Then the dog is pushed to parents, to friends, and somewhere around. But both things are very important. So the concept of cool is changing. You know, before that, partying, dancing was very important. Now young people statistically drink less. The young people from Generation Z, they have 2 times less sex than their parents are having. Why? Because they're saying you will not put it to resume. And now, you know, with sex revolution, Tinder, Grindr, and other social apps, and sex being not a reason to know the name of the other person. And it's really sexual revolution, and people have 2 times less sex than their parents were having. Why? Because it's not cool. So yeah, career, work, overwork, that's the new cool. Now you do not have to have, a very important position or to do something. It's important to work long hours. And for my grandparents, it was the same. Yeah. Also, professions, trendy professions are new. Making coffee is a very trendy profession. Working as a bartender is a very profession. Have a nice profession. Having a small business and making pizza is a nice profession. So, concept of cool in the labor market has changed. So, this generation is called the Peter Pan generation. Who was Peter Pan? Luis, you're commenting with Peter Pan, so I want to hear you.
This is a character from a movie, from a book.
A book, Disney Children.
Peter Pan is a character who never wanted to grow up, who is an eternal youth icon.
Yeah, and what is very important with this generation, so you finish school, you go to university, do your bachelor's, you do your master's, you do your PhD, you stay working in university. Never so many people before were doing their PhDs. Okay, one of the reasons is funding is there. What is the other reason?
Not take responsibility.
You don't want to enter adult life. University is still very safe for walls. Traveling the world, doing voluntary service, going to Malaysia to learn the third native language, which 5% of local people are speaking, it's seen as cool thing, but you don't jump into the labor market, you don't jump yet into the adult world. So there are so many opportunities these days not to grow up, and young people are really, really, really using that a lot. So what is very important, this generation, they're choosing not to choose. What does it mean? My brother gets a job offer. The company is saying, we will pay you 1,000 euros if you start working with us. And my brother is saying, no, thank you. And I'm asking why. That's a big salary in Lithuania, more than average. But maybe in 2 weeks, I will get 200 euros more. I do not know, should I take it or not? People now are afraid to lose the next best opportunity. The same reasoning is for entering a relationship. When I started to date my wife, I said, okay, I like you, let's be a couple. And now young people, they don't tell to each other, let's be a couple. For example, the sister of my wife, she dated a guy and said, so how now you know that you are a boyfriend and girlfriend? And she says, when friends are starting to recognize us as a couple, invite us to parties together, and invite to other couples parties, then some moment we change the status on Facebook that we are in a relationship. So you do not commit. And why? Because you think maybe it will be better. Now people are divorcing. Main reason for divorce is the parents of the spouse. Second reason, not met expectations. So people are divorcing not because it's bad, but because they are thinking maybe it will be better. So welcome to developed countries. Young people, what they do, they experiment with the lifestyle. So looks of body, piercing, tattoos, clothing, changing style, changing lifestyle, vegan, raw vegan at the age of 15. So these kind of things are happening because they are searching for identity. It's difficult for them to commit to a job, for example, and then they want a very fast result, saying, I was working in this job, I tried to change something, nothing has happened, probably I should be looking for a new job. And you're asking, how long are you working? For 4 months. So sometimes they really want to have a very fast result. And another thing, young people tend to compare themselves, and it's really a huge comparison need when social media is even enforcing themselves. So do you know why we come back and check for likes? So you post something and you check how many likes you collected.
Because we want approval from society and from our peers.
Also, hormones are being developed, which are developed when you drink alcohol, so they are addictive. So confirm this feeling, wish of getting confirmed. It's addictive. So that's why we are doing it, and then we are comparing and not really looking very critically. And if you look at the person's behavior in social media, you know, it's how to say, quite an opposite to what is happening in real life. If a person falls in love, what is happening with his Instagram and Facebook account?
It depends if that love is shared or not. Like if not, then it's going to be so dramatic, everything. And if it
Gone. The social media is dead because you don't have time for social media. You are in love. You go on a date, you talk, you communicate. If the relationship starts to get bad, then the crazy stuff in social media is starting, you know, sharing nice pictures of each other, posting, commenting, reacting. Then the drama is starting when something is wrong. And when the relationship falls apart, then people, you know, immediately change profile, enter to the sports club. So they want to get as fast as possible back to the love market, to show that they are again on the love market, showing that everything is okay, and so on, etc. So we are lying to ourselves in social media very often, and not everyone is able to understand, is it true or not, and, you know, to choose the information. So psychology and youth work and youth centers. So me and Marius, 2 years ago, we did an experiment. So we had a big project on mobile youth work, and we went into a festival. So it was a discussion festival beginning of September in Lithuania, in a small town. That festival collects 4,000 or 5,000 people during the weekend who come for intellectual discussions. So no alcohol, smart people, actors, writers, politicians, activists, all the NGOs are having a tent or something. So we did it to make a project presentation. So we opened a youth center, mobile youth center in a festival. So we had a minibus, we had a tent, we had the equipment of Elektrėnai Youth Center and beanbags. So do you want to see what was the result of the experiment after Aga's question will be asked? So Agata.
Yeah, can I comment something?
Yes, Agata.
If you, yeah. Just the open question. I'm wondering. I don't see exactly the point, and I don't want to judge or make a valorization if the young people we're talking right now about are doing, for example, that they could not maintain, as you put an example, a job, for example, more than 3 or 4 months. And I'm just wondering, maybe it's just because they are mature enough to see that something is against their values, let's say, or they are becoming just a part of the system, and they're just more considerate and aware of their own well-being. So I don't see, I don't know how to explain it. Just wondering, maybe it just they just realizing that they are supporting somehow the part of the really anachronic system, which could not function anymore nowadays in this way, that they're part of the whole, I don't know, capitalistic and, you know, sorry, just starting to.
I understand your line. Yeah. The job market has changed because, you know, my parents, they could enter a job and stay there for 40 years. Now your generation is changing 7-10 jobs in their lifespan. That's perfectly fine. And then the careers are changing. So it's also another thing. The aim of my presentation is that you, as people working with youth, would understand what is happening. Banking sector, marketing, Facebook, the big corporations are investing shitloads of money into youth research. Why? To know how their future customers are behaving. So this is a reflection of the investment. And then, for example, for the corporations, what does it say if a person doesn't commit too long? So people, they are, how to say, a very nuoseklios būtybės. Marius, help me. What does it mean, nuoseklus? they follow a certain pattern of behavior. So we behave the same way in sexual situations, in relationship, in labor market, and in consumption. How we consume stuff. So that's also a very important thing for the corporations to understand. And I'm not judging that the person jumps in, changes jobs, and so on and etc. For me, the reaction is the person has the freedom to do that. 80 years ago, the person would be afraid to lose a job because he would starve. Now the social system is so well developed that I cannot imagine that people are dying from hunger in any of the countries participating in our project. So that's the reality, and without no judgment, that's the behavior. And as I was saying before, the young people who we have right now, they are the mirror of our society. They behave like that because society, tempo, technological developments, parent pressure, peer pressure, social media are making them behave like that. It's not their fault. It's their behavior. Mm-hmm. Who is next? Commenting. Jorgen, you?
Jorgen. Yeah, I think it's important also to stress that it's not only youth preferences when it comes to the labor market that is changing, not only the labor market that is changing, but it's the very nature of work itself. And being in the third wave of industrialization with artificial intelligence taking over a lot of functions, society, the European society has a huge challenge in trying to resolve what is a job going to be in the future, what is constructive for people to do. And I think it's also important to be honest with the youngsters about the situation that we're in. It's not just to do like your grandfather did, to leave the army after the war and just show up with the hat in the hand on a factory and get a job. It's important not to pretend to be in that situation anymore, but to be honest that the situation is quite complex. It's a bit chaotic, and we're still all trying to figure out how to deal with future changes. Maybe you have some ideas.
Yeah. Another thing, the way how we educate young people, we were promising them that everything will be super nice. If you behave, you go to school, you go to university, if you'll get a degree, you will get a job. And that's not reflecting the reality at all. You know, the price of, the value of university education has really dropped in the last 50 years. Okay, Joella, Luis, and then Marius.
Okay, I'll be very short. First, I want to point out that I said rainbow-colored Googles because teenagers don't see everything in pink. They just see it in opposite colors. Like they can be very, very blue, very depressed, like very, very nihilistic, or they can switch to very, very high mood. Like they are exact, I would say, rainbow-colored. And another thing that I want to say is that, as you said before, in some countries, youngsters are like the teenage years, it's like biologically until 19, but exactly extend over like the 30s. I see my mates, my colleagues have the same behavior as you say, that this not wanting to commit, still living with other kids, with other people, and still don't want to commit to anything, like anything that is too much for them, too much in relations, too much in job, too much commitment in anything. And another thing that I want to say is that usually youth workers and educators motivate them, like you can be whatever you want, you have to follow your dreams, you have to fulfill your potential. And then you go to a job segment, a job office, and they say, well, the job offers are this and that, so you should focus on what is most doable. So like, for example, you pass the last 10, 12 years, I don't know, doing music, doing theater, I don't know, doing sports, studying this and that, another topic or history or whatever. And then you find out that whatever you're doing, it's not really working in your society. and you know, like you have like two different voices, and it's like a schizophreny. Like, what should I listen? Should I focus on what is really doable? Should I become like a officer, I don't know, like a digital marketer, or should I fulfill my dream? That's the thing.
To react on what you're saying about the labor market, in Europe, we have more job placements open than people who are searching for a job, but then it doesn't meet at all. For example, in Portugal, there are a lot of placements in agriculture, but young people don't want to go to work in agriculture. So it's one thing we are promised to have, and then there is the reality, what really the job market needs. Luis, Marius, Neringa, and then we will go to break.
No, I just wanted to talk about the same topic. I don't want to repeat what the others were saying, but mostly I had the example like 8 years ago, something like this. I was in Austria when the crisis hit Spain, and I went to try to seek for a job. I went to the job interview, and all the Austrians were rejecting the job. And for me, it was a super great job. I could not even understand why the Austrians were rejecting the job. But it was because in the Austrian labor market, there was more opportunities, and it was what exactly we are saying right now. And now I was understanding what Nerius was meaning to understand the generation, because it's something that usually happens in youth work and volunteering, that the young people are not going to stay sometimes more than 2 months volunteering. And it's super important to understand that the profile of volunteers or young people or connected to the world of the youth work, it's going to be just 1 month, maybe 1 week, maybe 3 months, because they're going to travel, they're going to go to do volunteering, they're going to go to another job, they're going to go to another studies. And it's super important to have this profile in mind when you develop the youth center, or you develop activities or stuff.
Yeah, I would even raise a bit. It is now to 1 weekend volunteering. That's what they want to do with the commitment. Go to a festival and be volunteer, and then forget. Young people do not enter youth organizations. Young people do not enter political parties. Marius, Neringa.
Yeah, well, most of the points were already covered, but I very often hear, you know, young adults criticizing young people for being not rebellious enough. They say, why you don't find the system, you know, because we like to refer to systems, and 30 years ago we became independent, and sometimes yeah, you try to kind of find the easy way, go with the flow, but that's also how situation has changed. There is no system anymore, so there is nothing to really like clearly to fight against. Like, 30 years ago, to wear jeans, long hair, and spit on the street was fighting against the system, which was not really fight against the system. So nowadays we also see, with such many choices young people are presented and facing, that we're looking for certain systems or certain frameworks or certain patterns to which they could attach, because they need support and guidance. And also with youth policy, still most of it is kind of trying to protecting people from doing something bad. But instead of that, we need to find ways how to support and help them, how to give this guidance or positive examples which they could relate to and maybe walk. Because there are so many choices that they're lost.
Okay, thank you, Marius. Neringa is up, and I don't know what to do with the villa. I will think.
Okay, I have just a short comment about everything what was said, and to underline that we should bring intercultural dimension in education, in youth work, because we have more cultures than we have nations. Yeah. And that's very important when we want to teach youth and re-educate elders. We have in some countries that nationalistic approach. And when we're speaking about youth unemployment, that intercultural dimension is very useful. Intercultural competences are very useful and valuable. So just to be short.
Okay, Dovila.
I just have one thought about, because I think young people, they don't know how to deal with the things that they don't like. They just run away and quit. I think because it's always something that you don't like, and it's always coming something that you, maybe it's not perfect, but you have to learn how to deal with it. That's why people divorcing, that's why they're quitting jobs. They're looking for some fairy tale, but I mean, it is some things that you have to deal that you don't like, and how to deal it, how you gonna deal with that. That's very important to teach young people, that you have to tell things, and some things maybe you have to accept that it is this way. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit, it's not only, I think it's not only a problem with the young people, it's also a problem with the old people, that maybe they don't accept the number ones, but it's in both ways, I think, and one another has to learn many things.
Davila, I will elaborate a bit on what you are telling. The problem with our society, I think also adults, young people, we base our expectations towards life on some kind of Hollywood crappy movie. You know, how life would look, what is love, what should be a good job. And so there are a lot of expectations, imagination. And when the reality hits, it doesn't meet what you see. So one of the things which I try to teach my own children, and when I work with young people, don't have expectations. You know, take off the unicorn pink glasses and look what is reality. Look critically into the information which you see and try to do what is best out of that, because for everyone, you know, the expectation is totally different from the reality in a relationship, in school, in university, and then it's also how you see it and how you promote it. We have 5 more minutes for comments. I will not go back to slides because we will go to the break. So let's use the time on reactions. One of our reflections with Marius and Andris was that, you know, with this training course, we wanted to give as much as input in the beginning than to go and discuss and to see examples. But we see now that there should be much more space for you to discuss and share your ideas, thoughts, and reactions. So that's the lesson we are taking out of today, I would say. So I want to invite a few more comments before we go to the break.
Just a general comment maybe about this topic of young people being part of the society. I think that young people often are like an update for the whole society, and the society need to take into account what they want, what they offer more and more, so that we can sort of be on the same page in a way, because we're all changing, as Jorgen said, with this digitalization and MI and things like that. So young people, I think most of all are looking for respect for the feeling of maybe they're more in tune with the level of feeling rather than thinking, and intuitive and impulsive kind of good things that come out of it. And
Okay, more reactions?
I was just reflecting right now that the generation Zeta or whatever, I will not, I mean, it's okay to put it between two dates, 1995 and 2010. But even myself, I was considering myself inside of this. So I was realizing that I'm younger than I thought. But also in the last years, I realized that it was not only this generation, but it's also like other older generations that are taking this commitment and this kind of lifestyle as well. Sometimes you can meet people of 40 or 50 years old, and they're still in this generation as well, in these characteristics and properties. It's not the common maybe, but they are.
And also what you have to take into consideration, the economy of the country. So some of the tendencies that can happen in US, they will reach Europe in 3 years. the rich countries, then in 5 years they will reach the others, in 10 years they will reach the poorer countries. Then so it really goes with how you see and what you see. My experience with youth work was in 2003, I went to Germany, and Germans were showing empty youth centers. I was saying, what the hell, if we would have such an infrastructure, it would be full of young people. Now it's 2010. 2020, Ukrainians are coming to Lithuania. We are showing huge, amazing, big centers, which are half empty, and they are saying the same as I was saying in 2003. Wow, if we would have such infrastructure, it would be full of young people. So tendencies, they catch up, they move. The better we live, the more challenging it is. Vitaly.
Yeah, I don't want to intervene, but meaning that it's a great pleasure, first of all, to listen all of you, all your thoughts, and the discussion what we have. That really now it's started to be more clear and understandable the view why young people behave like this and why I'm feeling sometimes frustrated that they are not as I expected they to be. Just thank you for session and for great discussion what all of you are sharing now.
Okay, thank you, Vitaly. Joella, final remarks from you, and we go to the break.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we are usually, like as educator, giving an in general in school, in the life of youngsters, giving a toxic model of development, like that the path of becoming an adult, the path of becoming independent, it's not as you show before in the second frame. It's not a scale, it's not a stair, it's not a line. And for some people, we should, show role models that have a different path to find their own individuality, to find their own independence in life. Because if we just push to youngsters that, okay, you will make university, then you will find a job, or you go out from the school and you find your job, you find your path in life. It's not happening like this. It happens that the people maybe study 8 years something and then don't find a job, and then find another job and find good things in that, and it's okay. That it's okay to fail in something, that it's okay to get lost. The important is the final definition of becoming a happy, fulfilled person in society. That if you're happy, yeah, okay, you study 12 years becoming a, I don't know, like a chemistry PhD, and then you become a farmer, and it's okay that you're not failed in life. It's totally okay if you're happy. Like, you don't have to push this performative goals in youngsters and young adults, because this is crushing them.
Okay, thank you very much. I will quote Vitaly. It was really, I think, eye-opening for a lot of us. Another very important thing, we don't have to come with a common agreement and understanding. So that's the idea of the discussion, that really we open much more views to the same situation from different perspectives. So thank you very much. Also, there was a quite interesting discussion in the chat happening with people sharing books, commenting, reacting. So it was really, really involving, and I want to thank you for that. Now let's break for half an hour, and then we will give you a chance to discuss about what kind of things youth workers should take into consideration from the psychology, from the sociology, and from the global development also, when you design and think of youth center activities and how to create the space. So I will still present my experiment, 4 slides with pictures, and then you will be doing a discussion. Okay? Joella still raised hand, or everything is okay? Okay, good. So at 2 o'clock, we are meeting back. Enjoy your break. We will open break rooms for discussions if you need, and see you in a half an hour. Marius, you can pause the recording. Okay, the camera is on. So guys, what is important to share from the groups? Our plan is to finish in 10 minutes. So short updates from the groups.
Okay, room number 1.
We are room number 1. I think we were okay. I was always in room number 6, so it's good.
Okay, Andres, you can start.
No, Neringa, please. You were the first.
Okay, so we had again nice and meaningful discussion with the group inside the group. So in the first place, we came up with safety and empathy, and then we went to specific points about how youth center should be. That means it should be specifically orientated with a target group, with age, divided by timing, that no law would be broken. It is important to ensure that young people cover the need of socializing, no pressure, being able to relax, to be excited about the activities that are proposed by youth center, and at the same time, even when they are avoiding some responsibilities and taking leadership, to find that smart way how to engage them. And what is more important point to mention, to be aware in which geographical location the youth center is. I think that's all what notes I took from our all group. The examples were more specific, but I made them more general to be adaptable to everyone. If the group members have to add something, please share.
Thank you, Neringa. Only one thing that I want to add, what was very important when we discussed about it, it's before you start this youth center, youth house or anything, is to understand what kind of youth work forms you will be using and what will be your target group. Is it going to be open youth space for everyone all the time? Is it going to be youth space for youngsters from social risk groups? Is it going to be for youth co-working space or something? You have to really define your target group. Then it's easier to understand these psychological aspects, because to put them all together at the same time, it will be quite difficult. Yes, and group number 1 was amazing. We discussed it a lot and really great group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who is next?
Luis. We are group 2. I didn't know. Well, basically, I have just few notes first. We consider to have into consideration multiple intelligence, possibility to have like different areas, even if in a room, or also respecting the importance of the safe space, respecting different psychological aspects, because we didn't define the target group, so we were doing it a little bit in general. Important to consider their expectations and the motivations that can move them to go to the place. And we were discussing a lot about the importance of having a psychologist in the youth center as a support. And then we discussed a lot about that. And basically that. Finally, we start to discuss about the division of the target group. If you do workshops only with women or only with men or just with migrants. In that case, we could have take more the psychological aspects, but we didn't go that far. Maybe.
Super. Who's next? Yeah,
maybe.
Okay.
Okay, who?
I think that somebody started talking before me, so.
Okay, I will talk with Jorgen about what we said about in our group. We define one thing, that is the sense of belonging. So for having a good youth work in a youth center, we have exactly to know what is the target group, what is the environment, and we discuss about to involve the youngsters in the project and create together with them, with a group of them, the youth center, for example, making pools online, or for example, to gather them in the street or whatever in the other places where they gather. But also we discussed that if you don't exactly know what is a youth center and it's new for you, it's difficult to know, to accept it. So in any ways, we have to adapt to the sense of identity of the youngsters. And then it has to be a place where they can cultivate relations and where they can have freedom. And we came up with the idea of self-regulation and self-organization, because we discuss a lot about rules, like how to make the rules in a way that they are not imposed, maybe discuss with them and involve the youngsters or a group of youngsters in the rule making. And in the same time, Joanna gave us good ideas as the young in our group, that, for example, having a good role model is giving you more the rules instead of making a real statement of rules. And what else? Maybe Jorge, you want to keep on?
Yeah, I took a little note from the points of each of one. There was one, at least one central point for each of us. It's of course true that any group left alone will self-organize and self-regulate. So you need to get that to an acceptable minimum of chaos. It's important to begin with the trust. You have to trust them even though they don't deserve the trust because nothing has happened yet. You have to begin with trust, because only then will the group start to trust itself and regulate itself in a healthy way as well. So it's the art of balances, which is very difficult, because you have to balance this to always keep a minimum level of trust, and not just the material space of the youth center, but also the conceptual abstract space, the idea, the thing of the youth center. And the more that they feel that they belong to this, as Joanna mentioned, the family, if it's a family feeling for them to be there, it has value, and they will protect that value, also by self-enforcing the rules. Yeah, it's a lot into this topic, but I appreciate that that everybody had something to say about it.
Who's next?
I'm not sure what group were we. I didn't see the number.
Just few ideas from the group.
Okay, I will try to emphasize only a part of them. We discussed about the fact that it's there are some countries that have really rules that regulate how these youth centers should be, like Lithuania. But for example, Poland and Romania don't have, as far as we know, at least. And we thought that this was a really interesting part, but especially because there are some regulations, like the fact that on Saturday it has to be open, is a really logic kind of idea, but that it's better to have it written black and white, just to make sure that everywhere is the same. There are three main spaces required in our opinion, namely a space for the individual counseling, one for the offices, for the administration and so on, and a fun space for discos, board games, but also the gamification activities. so like the non-formal education and so on, but this could be used in the fun space, of course. The good relationship with the people from the youth center is really important, with role models and everything that also our colleagues said. Because we had an artist in our group, it was really important to talk also about the colors that should be used on the walls, and we got the advice to use bright colors because youngsters are usually more attracted to the pastel colors and so on. And one point that was said, like admitted by everyone, is that the fact that it would have more impact if these paintings and these decorations and the bean bags, as you said before, and everything would have also the teenagers or the young adults involved in the process of making them. So I would like to share also 2 videos, but it's too late now, so I will share them maybe on the Facebook group, that are really, really nice, not from the youth center, but from something different, but really related to this involvement of the community in the space that you are hoping they are going to spend a lot of time in. Okay, and this box of inspiration for suggestions, because it's really important for the youngsters to be heard, because it's their space eventually. So it's really important to have it their own way, and maybe they have some suggestions, but also some changes. So in the beginning, when you established it, there were some trends and needs, so to say, but at some point they might change. So it's really important to update the youth center depending on their suggestions. And there are these types of discussions like, okay, we have this box and we, the administration, are taking it and we see if this is doable or not. And we had this suggestion in the group, and we agreed that it's a good one, to have actually a community discussion about each and every article from the box of inspiration. So not only the administration to talk about the suggestions, but also like the whole community involved. Yeah, these are the main. And also sometimes we as youth workers and we as project managers are not always having the full image in front of our eyes. So maybe it's helpful to ask also to seek for advice outside of the organization for specific specialists. And the bigger the connections and the community, the better for everyone. These were the main aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna, can I ask you, when you will be sharing in Facebook the videos, also put this information into the post for us to have it for report and for further work. Thank you very much. Who else didn't speak up? Please speak up.
Our group 3 didn't speak, so maybe I can say a couple of things. So we first started talking about the community around the youth center, where we want to build it, where we want to establish it. So are the people interested in youth work? Are the people from different minorities? Are they like gangsters or drug users or stuff like that? And is the youth center in the city or in the countryside? And then we talked a little bit about the hierarchy. I don't know how to pronounce that word. So yeah, we suggested that in the youth center, there's a small group of volunteers that organizes different events and stuff like that, and their roles with the years and the experience change. And basically every 2 or 3 times a year, they select new volunteers to come into the small organization. And what else did we talk about? We talked about our own experiences visiting youth centers, and we talked a lot about the feedback of the youngsters that come and go in the youth centers and their feelings especially. And then we got a little bit into a fight, but everything is good.
What were you fighting about?
Yeah, what were you fighting for?
Oh, Mr. Kiko, okay. We
It's
were
okay.
fighting.
I think it's because of the partnerships with schools. Yeah, Victoria. Yeah. Because I asked, because I have no experience with youth centers, only with youth work. So I asked my colleagues that visited youth centers and worked with youth centers if it makes any sense to make partnerships with schools. And they talked about Victoria and Mr. Kikto talked about their experience in Bulgaria. So they have a good fight about it. And the results are very good for me because so I can pick the good things and the bad things to even to establish here in Portugal for myself. So it's a good fight. It was a good fight.
Discussion.
Yes, discussion, yes, of course.
Okay, super. Did everyone speak up? All the groups? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please turn on your cameras. We are only 25 people left in our Zoom room. So we are fitting in one window. So we will do very fast reflection of the day by using our thumbs. Okay, I'll go. So this is what we are assessing how useful was the day. This is very useful. This is not useful at all, and it can be in between, according to the level of usefulness for you. So please show it. We will make a photo. So 1, 2, 3, let's show. We can accept 4 comments of 1 sentence, and then we will close. Why it was useful or not useful for you?
I think the discussion. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Letizia then Dovile.
The discussion in small groups is very interesting to all the people can talk and you can learn with the other people. This is very nice. I like a lot.
Thanks.
Super.
For me, I think we talked the same things in the last discussion. Like it doesn't matter the place or how big or how small it is. It matters how ready the youth worker is to actually be open with the. So this psychological thing, it's I think it's the most important when it comes to work with the youth. So once you are really ready to be open and to take care of them, then they will feel good, they will come back, they will feel like a family. So I think that's the most important topic.
Okay, Victoria, you know how to dominate in Zoom, so we invite you.
I'm sorry. So today, for the first time, I really realized that establishing a youth center can be very challenging. The previous days, I was like, that's very interesting. That's a small job, stuff like that. But today, I finally realized what a challenge it can be. But that only made it more fun for me. Yeah.
Okay, the next person who is dominating in Zoom, Jörgen.
Yes, the talk too much guy. Well, I think one of the most interesting things today for me was, aside from learning a lot, having a lot of cool input from a lot of people, I think actually we have some ideas for projects that will happen, that came out of this day. And I'm very, very enthusiastic about that. That's awesome. Just like your last training course that I went to, it also generated new projects.
Yeah, physical one. Super.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I think I'll pass the floor to Marius to close the day.
Oh my goodness! So before I say that it's closed, it's very easy, closed. But we really appreciate your active participation. Amazing. And we discussed with Nereus on one of the breaks that we would like to see most of you, if not all of you, in our future trainings, be it digital or real ones. So for sure, we will keep your contacts and we will contact you after. But now let's have a little bit of individual time as well, because we spent a lot of time in group. I kindly invite you today, find maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour for online learning badges. Because already now it's 3 days of a program passed, so there's a lot of things you were discussing, thinking. So I think we can bring back again, focus on learning. What are you learning? What are you taking from there? So I hope to see some of the notifications of you claiming badges. Okay. And I would say that's it for now. If you have any questions or reactions, or you need some technical help, write me on Facebook. We will be more than happy to support you. But it's also now time to finish this session. Enough is enough. Huh? Take care, enjoy the evening. And oh, we're meeting today when? 6 o'clock Central European Time, those who want.
Okay. Yeah, those who want. See you. Tomorrow we have study visits. Come, there will be new people joining.
It will be fun.
Ciao.
Oh, thank you very much.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Ciao. Bye. Bye-bye.
Andres, you're speaking without speaking.
Чего?
You were muted, but try to speak.
Oh, no, I was saying to my colleague.
Okay.
Do we need to discuss?
What shall we do tomorrow?
We can hope that our participants will be still drunk from today and then postpone it.
For drinking, only few will be coming. So for us, it's a question: what do we do and how do we do stuff?
So from me, you need the video tomorrow.
Yeah. Will you manage to do something? Did you start doing?
I had another idea. Since we don't have a proper use space now with COVID, I will show a video from opening our pop-up summer youth space. Then I will explain what are we doing now. And that video is like around 3 or 4 minutes. And then I will prepare some slides a little bit. So
I'm thinking how to organize everything, because we have Elektriana girls, we will have Daiva from Ukmergė, we will have Andris.